Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have the opportunity to work on a Newell reel. This is the Newell S235, and this reel came in for repair because it's got a sticking spool. Well, I did a little start of an investigation. I removed the handle and the handle nut and the washers, and I noticed that the star adjuster is banging against the side plate, which usually means worn drag washers. I also noticed while I was doing this that the reel is very loud, and that loudness is usually associated with bearing noise. Now I went ahead and talked to the owner of this, and he said go ahead and replace the bearings, add the drag washers as needed. It looks like there's no drag washer clearance here at all. This little collar should be raised above that piece, so there's no clearance there at all. And well, we're going to show you how to take this reel apart, how to service it, how to correct those issues, and how to get this reel out there fishing again. So to those of you that know Newell, know the Newell reel, know that Carl Newell was the, I guess, inventor. He was the patron of the company. He was a polymer and plastics expert out in California. He was an avid big game fisherman, and he decided he was going to make a reel that could withstand the rigors of salt water and have limited corrosion. So he came up basically with graphite bodied reels and stainless steel parts, and they are the envy of any reels that were made at the time. All right, I've taken the 3 side plate screws out. That should enable me to remove the side plate. You can remove this spool. You can see I already replaced one of those bearings there. And I'll just put that right back in. We're going to turn our attention to the side plate, where we want to take a look at what's going on from a gear standpoint. This reel, I think Robert is the owner. I think he just got the reel, and well, clearly it's noisy, but you know, these reels don't break in that sense. The bearings can be replaced. So we're just going to take a look here and see if we can replace the drag washers, clean this reel up, and get it working right again. Well, if you like these kinds of videos, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button. That'll let you know when I'm posting videos. I post on all kinds of fishing reels. Today it's kind of a classic. Tomorrow it might be the latest Shimano or Abu or whatever. And if you like to see how reels are made, how they're serviced, and maybe to help you do it yourself, this is the channel for you. Well, I took the 4 screws that hold the bridge out. I noticed that the 2 short ones go up top, the 2 long ones go on the bottom. And when I take those pieces and parts out, I showed you before the parts tray, I do take these and put those pieces into a parts tray so I can find them. One of the nice things about a Newell reel is everything's on the bridge. So we can push the bridge through here. We can see there's a lot of dirt and grease and junk. Here's that bearing we were talking about. So that's the second bearing we're going to replace. Right now this one just needs a terribly good cleaning for sure, and that may be some of the issue. There was a question from the owner, was the bridge shaft loose or tilted or something? Could it need to be replaced? Well, there's no movement in this bridge plate at all, so that says that the axle shaft and everything should be turning true. Okay, let's get down to business here. The first thing I want to do is clean this side plate. I don't know the last time that this has been cleaned, but anybody who owns a Newell reel should take care of it, because it will last forever and ever with proper care. That was the idea that Carl Newell had when he created it. He wanted a durable reel that could withstand the rigors of salt water in the environment and last for a long time to come. A lot of people think that Newell had something to do with the Penn Jig Master. This reel does use some Penn Jig Master type parts. The drag washers should be the same drag washers that are in the Penn Jig Master, but no, this was a new design. It does not share a bridge or any kind of responsibility with that. And Carl Newell, to my knowledge, never worked with pen. Okay, the inside, well, we got a dirty towel to show that that's been cleaned. Next up, we have this bridge assembly. There's a collar on it, and there's a washer underneath. I'm just going to find a unique place for that in my hole. And then we've got the yoke assembly and the pinion gear, and those are held on by E-clips, so I'm going to gently remove those. I use a micro screwdriver here to pull this out. When you work on these E-clips, protect yourself because they can fly, and particularly with this because it's holding that spring on. Those go into my parts tray. There's another one on this side. We'll do the same thing. I hold my finger behind the clip so that if it does want to shoot, it tends to fall into my finger like it did there. And again, we have the second yoke spring there as well. With that removed, we can pull up on the yoke and out. You kind of remove two things here. This shaft should come out. I put that screw back in after I removed the handle because I was testing something. But that handle comes out and this whole shaft should slide up. And you can see the dirt and debris inside that reel. I don't know how it got there. It certainly wasn't properly maintained. And well, for service purposes, we're just going to make sure this gets nice and cleaned. The good news about this reel, again, these are stainless parts. This is a good place to tell you to take pictures along the way as you're working on your reel, because that way you'll have a reference point for when you reinstall. One of the things you want to note on the yoke is you have these two pieces of the yoke that flange out. That faces forward when you reinstall. That'd be a good place to take a picture before you remove that so that you know. Okay, a bunch of old greases and that on the case here. Let's use some penetrating oil to loosen that up. And I'm still sticking with my story that I told the owner of this reel. I don't believe there's anything mechanically incorrect. I think it's all consumable kind of stuff. And the consumables being the broken or worn drags. Okay, just going to do a little bit of mop up here. As I do that, I will recommend that, or note that if you have any questions and you maybe you're working on a reel, maybe you want to know a little bit more about the reel's history, maybe it's totally unrelated to this reel, that's okay. Leave the questions in the comments section and I will try to answer those questions for you. I'm just going to move the lever now, make sure that if there is any dirt behind there, that gets cleaned off. And you can see the beauty of stainless, right? It cleans right up and it's here for a long time to come. Yeah, there's no movement in this axle shaft or gear post at all. So I'm going to say that whatever he was seeing in terms of a slant in the reel was not affected by the bridge. And he was looking on eBay or someplace. There are replacement bridges out there apparently. There's no reels that have failed that the owners have not put back into service and they part them out. Well, in this case, we're not needing those. Let's take a look at these drag washers. To me, the drag washers are probably pretty worn, possibly broken. That may be what all this dirt is inside the reel here. Alright, I'm going to just do one more thing before I get on to the main gear. And that is I'm going to just clean the pinion gear here. We're going to do the same thing we did with the bridge. I'm going to flush it with some penetrating oil. I'm going to use a hard brush. I'm going to pull through that brush to make sure that all those teeth get cleaned. All that old debris and grease gets out of there. With that done, we can go ahead and take the gear, put that into the yoke, set that aside in the case. Let's get underneath the main gear then, see what we have here. Okay, we have a very compressed drag stack. They shouldn't come out like that. They did. And we're just going to make sure that this whole gear gets cleaned up while I have the drags out of the way. So what I'm basically doing here is I'm rebuilding the reel. We're going to replace the two bearings, and we're going to replace the drag washers. And that's basically the consumables inside this reel. So the rest are stainless steel main gears that are in pretty good condition. Okay, here's what we have. We have a lot of thin, worn washers here. These are just pressed on. These are pretty tough shape. And I can't imagine how those were effective at all. All right, we're going to wipe those down. There is a little bit of old drag washers that is caught on these, so I'm going to use some steel wool to buff that off. This is a 4-0 steel wool. It is not an aggressive steel wool at all. It's basically for polishing. I just want to remove the places where those old washers got stuck. I'm pretty sure that the drag washers for this reel are the same drag washers for the Penn Jig Master. So at one point here I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to go look for a schematic. I want to make sure that all of the washers are in the right place. There was an extra washer here that may or may not be inside the assembly, and I didn't see a washer on this side, and to me there should be a washer there, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why this may have lost its way. All right, I'm going to shut that down, and I'll be right back, hopefully with the schematic or at least more information about how that one sets up. Okay, well, I'm back. Took a while. I have a bridge handle assembly for the Newell reels, and I've kind of left it intact. One of the things that I've noticed is you do have a washer on the back end here that is not present on the other one. So I'm going to get the replacement washer for that, in addition to finding that the Penn Jig Master drag washers are a direct fit. Well, I think that if Newell was true to form, that washer back there is probably the hard washer from a Penn 60 bridge. So let's go ahead and grab one of those and see if we can use that. Sometimes with these older reels, you just gotta play around with them, know what acceptable substitutes are, and try to do your best there to keep these things running. Let's see if this one works. That looks just about what this one is. We should be fine. That's a 60 washer, part 4-60 for the Long Beach. Okay, we've got one more thing to do here. We've cleaned off a lot of this. There's a little bit more to do. So I'm just going to use my bristle brush to clean through that. Right, with that done, I want to use some fishing reel grease to grease up the teeth of the gear. This thing should be screaming by the time we get done, because again, we're just basically replacing all of the consumables on this reel. Now, these are HT100 drag washers. You have the option to grease or not grease. I like to grease. I'm using Cal's Universal Drag Grease for that. You want to work it in and then wipe off the excess. This is a traditional 6 washer set, 3 metal, 3 fabric. There's 2 keyed washers. They're the ones with the flat sides inside. And take another washer, do this again. The middle washer is always the eared washer. It has the 2 points. Put that last washer in. Same idea, wipe off the excess. Go back now, put the second of the keyed washers in. And looking for my stack now, it's just a single bell washer that goes on next. And move that off to the side now. Let's go ahead and reset this now. I want to pull that up and out of the way. So you get just a little bit more cleanup here. I'm using a cotton swab for the cleanup. I want to oil behind the jack and where that little lever switch is. I'm going to bring the assembly up next. To set the anti-reverse now, pull up on that as you're dropping this assembly down. And if it gets in the way, just use a screwdriver to push it back. And you'll know it's working. You can see it working here. So I think that's set properly. I'll get the grease out of the way now. Next up, I want to set the pinion gear assembly in the yoke. I'm going to take this glove off. I think the dirty part of this job is done, but it also, I need my dexterity as I go to put those E-clips in. I want to get grease on both sides of the yoke. The side with the slot faces in. Remember what we said about those 2 indentations or bump outs there. They go outside. So you want your pinion gear facing out, the 2 ramps facing out. Then we can sit this down in its track. And we may need to lift a little bit on that gear to clear that shoulder of the pinion gear. There we go. All right, we're set there. The only thing that's missing now is that has to go through the hole in the front. There we go. All right, I keep forgetting that that's something of a reverse there. 1 spring. We're going to be compressing the spring until you can get to the slot that holds the E-clip. So kind of work it down. This is why that glove came off. Forks go into that groove and pull it through. You can usually do this with hand strength. And make sure you don't trap that spring coil as you do this. That's the way that one should be seated. This spring should be operating free. Your E-clip is on that post. And we got 1 more to do. And again, if my hands are in the way, I apologize. There's very little I can do about that. But we'll show you what we did. We push down, compress the spring, get it out of that channel where you want to put the E-clip. And most of the time you can hold it down with the fingernail or something. Sometimes it's harder than others. E-clip goes in the slot. For the most part, the hand strength gets it. I need a little assist here on the last piece. We're in. And now your yoke is set for the reel. Well, because everything is on the bridge, You don't need to do much there. What we need to do is to take a new bearing and install that one in the bearing cup in the back here. And the bearing I've chosen is a ceramic bearing, so it's sealed and there's no need to oil that. Let's take our bridge and locate that, put that in, make sure that you're square and that you're lined up with all of your holes. And remember, we have 2 longs, 2 shorts. I'm going to go to my parts tray and get those. I like to tighten in a X pattern here. So we did the one up top. Let's do the long one on the bottom on the other side. So we went up top, short, long bottom. And if it's not grabbing, turn it over. Find out where the alignment issue may be. Pull it a little bit. It looks like that's what needed to be done there. And you may have to back this one off a little bit. These are pretty temperamental. There we go. Now we got it. I heard that little snap. Up top with the short one. Down low with the bottom one. Let's go back, tighten this one up. Give it a turn, make sure everything's turning nicely, which it is. I'm going to pull that back out for mounting. And let's go ahead. There's 2 more washers here. There's a tension washer that goes next. And there's that cup. And now you can see with the cup, we've got quite a bit of extended drag here, where before it was flush with this. With all the bridge screws tightened down, get the trim ring, place that on, bring the piece over and align the side plate to accept the screws. There's one short one, it belongs up top if you recall. If not, go to your pictures. That's where you'll find out the reference points. There are 2 longer ones which belong side to side. Make sure we were all set with that. There you go. One more on this side. That little collar, the spacer collar for the drag washers fell out, and it's not a problem. Collar goes back on. And go ahead and put the adjuster back on. I'm just holding the post because it needs to be tightened down. You can use the handle as a wrench if you like. Okay, seems good. The bevel washer goes next. And we should have a washer below, and the handle, and a washer up top, and we have that little shield for your nut And we have the screw that's going to hold the bridge plate tight. And then we have that cap nut, which is a little dirty. I'm going to grab a piece of steel. We'll see if I can't knock some of that dirt off. Probably is your one chance to get it off. And you're never quite sure what that stuff is on it. Okay, and we'll just go ahead and put that on now. Well, I must be going for some time because my battery just died. All right, hand start that. Finish it off with a wrench. Tighten that down. There is a little seal collar there. It's going to keep water out, so make sure you do that. All right, well, this is kind of interesting because when this reel came in, I was told that the handle was bent inward, but it's sitting properly now. It's nice and square. Let's check how those new bearings are doing in free spool. Nice quiet operation now. Spins like a charm, right? So that means that, well, with the drag washer down and tightened, you should have a nice operating reel, which we do. What a difference a little bit of a tune-up can make. So we've basically replaced all the consumables in this reel. We replaced the drag washers and the two side plate bearings. The rest of it we made sure were nice and clean, and the result is just a beautiful turning Newell S235-5 fishing reel. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like it. If you want to see more, please subscribe. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, thanking our first responders and essential personnel for everything it is that they do, and wishing everybody a great day. Please stay safe, stay well, and stay fishing, and have a great day.